show off, showing these kinds of special effects. So we can't show them for very long. But thank you. Very nice. Ooh. Ugh. The sleep is hitting me, chat. It's beginning to happen. It's beginning to happen.
Moderately voiced with 500 bits said being a medically retired veteran, adjusting to civilian life has taken me a while.
Yeah.
Was in a fairly bad slump, but you and your community helped me pull out of it. So happy to give back when I can. Happy birthday, man.
Honestly, dude, that's incredibly nice of you. So thank you. And that's got to be hard, readjusting that. That's something I will, I have no idea what that feels like. So, hope you're able to have a good time here, and thank you very much. Leona, with 100 gifted subs. Holy shit, dude. Ugh. Oh, there's a point. On D. Monarch March. This is actually freaking amazing. So every time I take a step, it heals everybody in the party. But I don't know by how much. It's just very good, Yeah. But seriously, I can't say this enough, as I'm, slowly passing out. You guys have gifted so many goddamn subs today. It's wild, man. It is, actually ridiculous. And, Leona, I cannot stress that enough. Thank you for that. Very, very much so. Not just that, but Spare Melody, Tierva, Sunzia, VVVA today, One Bit Fox, Empyrean Seraphim. You guys are bonkers. Actually bonkers. So thank you. Seriously. I never expect that kind of a thing. And having 2 hype trains today over level 30 is amazing. So, you guys kick ass. Thank you very, very much. Can't stress that enough. Let's see. Where do I put this point? New enhancement is received.
Okay. I am having another sleepless night and, binge watching the sort of thing that I like to binge watch. Playing games where I want to play games, I guess. So, initially I was banned from this guy's chat, Pirates chat, because I had come in there and said something, and I don't know, I requested an unban and they did, and just like I've always been doing since exactly this time last year, when my uncle died, is just offloading and dumping all this money out, and I guess in my interest of truth, in my interest of empathy, in my interest of attention seeking, he said it was his birthday. I thought, I'm gonna participate in this. You know, like how some people feel the urge, as Dr. K put it, to punch a punching bag when they saw the weakness or the vulnerability or the opportunity to jump in on pirate. I thought, like, yeah, let's like participate. And I guess I really want you to know that money means little to nothing. Anything that you get in this world, you will only get through being an asshole, like, long and short of it. And eh, since watching all this stuff and seeing who this person is and how he behaves and how people interact with him, um, there are so many things that he and I share in common. Um, I tend to think that there are parallels, and when you fall within a certain realm, um, a lot of similar behavior patterns tend to show. And I guess the most important thing that I really need to instill in anybody is that you know how you heard the story, Donald with a small loan of $1 million from his parents. It's really important to have a grasp on what that means, what $1 million means, what it meant then versus what it means now. And what I want to tell viewers, or whoever happens to see this, is that I didn't have anyone necessarily rich. Well, yeah, my uncle, right? Um, he was a fat executive with McDonald's, and he was pompous and he was full of himself. And he never really took care of me financially or otherwise while I was alive. He had no kids, and he's a real altruist. And what I want to tell you, what I want to tell you, is that some of the best people in the world, like my uncle, he served in Vietnam. That the smallest amount of money that I got, a fifth of only the two properties that he left behind and some other shit. And it's a lot of, like, it's a lot, but it's not monopoly money a lot, not at all. Like, for me, it's just like winning a small lottery. It's 7 years ago, I remember getting $200,000 from a lawsuit. It was well deserved. It was for a very bad car accident, and that was crazy. But I burned through that, and I guess I'm happy I did. But no, it didn't make my life better. I think it really just provides a different perspective on life. But um, recently, when my uncle died, it was more than that. And what I want to tell people is that this guy didn't just get a little money. It's a lot of money. Um, Blizzard Entertainment, McDonald's, um, the altruist the altruist from McDonald's versus the really like nepotism baby sort of narcissist liar person that is Pirate Software. And then I am a narcissistic person, and I know this about myself because when I listened to the video between Dr. K and Pirate Software, it completely reminds me of all of the different times that my family, uh, particularly like my sister, has spoken with me, and I would like to say that I, you know, I would like to say that I would never fall for this sort of guy, and I haven't fallen for this sort of guy. Um, he's a furry and I'm a furry, and what interests me in the world, well, it's I'm like a moth going to the light, but I try not to be like the other people. I try to differentiate myself. And yeah, I felt nice to be able to give this money, but what's the point? Like, what's the point of any of this? Um, you get nothing out of it. Um, but I would rather be this sort of a spender than the person who just sits in the casino all day. I'd rather be this sort of spender than uh, the person that buys, a soda, one at a time from the store and just doesn't know, whether it's small scale, large scale spending. I believe in survival of the fittest. I believe that when I received my money, it it was an indication that I should prioritize it a couple different ways. Giving it away, um, spending it on myself, and God, I've done a good job of wasting and blowing through it, which is a good thing. Um, and I remember it tore apart my relationship. Um, I told her that she would never see any of that money, and I mean, how could she not leave me? It's not like she left me either. I pushed her out the door, but God, when Dr. K gave that statement of how people's behavior like pirate software we need in the world. We need people that are able to not speak, communicate emotionally, and just communicate, I guess, directly. Cognitive. I don't know what vernacular exactly, but he said that well, you're always like okay, you're gonna make meals 2 days out of the week, and you're gonna order dine in, order takeout 3 days out of the week, or 4 days out of the week. Um, and there's a lot of people that want that sort of energy, that sort of person. And where so I'm like pirate, except that I don't have the validation, I don't have the success, I don't have the grandeur the ego. I don't have that. And I'm also very similar to Dr. K, where I have a background of Buddhism and I have a background of alternative medicine up the wazoo. I'm telling you, naturopaths, chiropractors, and yeah, like Buddhist stuff or whatever. And I guess the only other thing that I want to add to the conversation, it's not like I'm adding anything to the conversation. I'm just making this video for myself. I'm not a person that cares about much. I wish I did, but and I'll try and get better. But the only way to stamp out and change this sort of behavior so that we can get that straight, clear talking, like Dr. K talks about, how he says he doesn't, imagine living in a world where things aren't genuine, where people aren't connecting and trying to understand each other. And I can see his frustration, but it strikes me again and again that there is no perfect answer to anything. People, especially at this point, are so good at making things difficult for one another when we don't have to worry about things otherwise, and when the government is allowed to spend money without concern for putting things where they're best used. Like, for instance, in my unit in the Army, every year we would have to make spending to try to get the same amount of budget the following year. And this sort of thing, it just isn't conducive to society. It's not conducive to human life because we all see it, we all partake in it, and that's what I really want to emphasize to people is that context matters. So here's a video.
Right back. I'm just going to try and make a quick phone call, give this resignation notice in person, in quotation marks.
Are you quitting for real right now?
I'm quitting for real, for real. I'll catch you guys in a second.
Doesn't want him to quit.
Good luck. Kronos is quitting his day job, guys. Now's when you have to cancel me. Literally in this moment, so that I fall off entirely and then I can't pay Kronos anymore.
So I searched for Kronos, trying to see if I could dig up, easily. I did not do a deep search at all, and this is how I came up with this video. And what I want to explain to people is that someone like Pirate doesn't get to be someone like Pirate without a circle around them. And I know that this is how people operate. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that if there's anyone out there that's mad at me about giving money to Pirate, mad about Pirate, look at me, look at Kronos, and look at the difference of who is willing to talk about something. Because I'm willing to talk about this stuff, and I would love to be the variation of Dr. K that is able to get Pirate on stream, on camera with you, and just weed out the nonsense. God, I want to take a fucking weed whacker to that shit. Ah, it's so frustrating, right? To listen to Dr. K practice his resilience and his patience and his Zen Buddhism as he just can't, because like when I watched him with Asmongold and Mizkif, he always has a different approach, it seems. Some days he feels like he's going to go more heavy-handed with the anti-narcissism and sometimes not. And that's the magic. That's the problem. Normally, a psychiatrist will just have someone one-on-one. It's just an office environment. It's just a very unique experience that you can only get alone. And it's kind of like how pornography ruins sex. And I can't wait to watch more videos about what Dr. K talks about pornography. But I think creating a spectacle and a show out of the perceived therapy, I think it's so important to, explain, like, because I know that he does at the beginning of his videos, but do you know what I mean? Disclaimer? I mean, are disclaimers better? No. No, no, they're not. Yeah, I don't know where this world's gonna go soon, but I just want to say to the people out there that there's a lot of rich, selfish people that they have more than enough, and they cannot, for the life of them, become altruists and become good people. And just like how with sexual predators, you should look at the people closest to the person. I don't know where I was going with that. I definitely got hammed up on what I just said. Isn't it a weird world we live in? I'm getting old. I'm getting older. Agencies going away. AI is coming around, and there's just gonna be younger people out here who I will have never met, and they will have based their whole life, a big part of their life, just on consuming content that I put out and people like me put out. So I think that someone like Pirate Software is someone much like me. It's someone who was exposed to this sort of behavior. And for whatever reason, we made the decision that we had a mission, we had a goal, and we're gonna meet that goal, I guess. And the only way that we're gonna get there is through using the tools at our disposal. And when you are able to look at another human being as a tool, and like me, still be able to refuse to see that behavior as treating this person as a tool, as me being an asshole. I'm able to perceive myself as just like, oh, this is just how I get by. This is just how I get ahead. This is just what I have to do. Because if we look at today's society, what is it all about? It's all about having to know what to do and to go through the fucking motions. You know, if you need to file for benefits, you know that there are poor people out there in your life. You know that there are poor people out there in your life that have these medical benefits, employment benefits, um, scholarships, grants, programs, you know, that are available. But for one reason or another, they don't use those programs. And I want to emphasize that's understandable. That is totally understandable. Um, but I've said it so many times to so many different people in my life. I love to highlight make pinned messages. I love to remember the most important things for me because I've always had this understanding that if I want to become the most experienced, traveled, sort of understandable, person, not smart person, if I want to be smart and successful, then I've got to be able to do two things. Okay? And they're both with one other person, right? Any given person. Two things. I've got to be able to disseminate my information for them, and this is probably the less important one, but it's an altruist one, and it's a good one, and it's when we operate like this, we become the Luffy of our story, we become the Naruto of our story, we become the main character. So disseminate the most important information in our lives. For me, yeah, I have to acknowledge and I have to bring up the fact that my mom broke my Sega Dreamcast, threw it down the stairs and right in front of me, and then bought me another one the next day. Like that's something that can happen, and it does, and whether or not you see it as traumatic is entirely dependent on your position. It's entirely dependent on your position. And when I can remember a time, many times when we didn't have money, when she wasn't able to change that side view mirror on her German Saab car because it was a couple $100s at the time, $1,200. Um, and then you see, what she's done in this regard, it changes everything about your life. And why do I think that Pirate Software and I we're very smart, very, very smart people, okay? And that's what that is the recipe for psychopathic behavior. It's the recipe for destruction and chaos because we all know that a mind that thinks too much suffers. And the problem with pirate, someone that lies, is that they're constantly thinking about how to manipulate the other person onto their side, how to get away from the questions that they don't want to be asked, how to avoid answering the questions that they don't want to answer. I should say we. Um, I think that destroying someone's ego is important. I think that changing the dynamic of the people that we worship and the way that we go to people and we reward people, how we reward those people is huge. So I'm really hoping that it changes soon. And I'm just I mean, it's getting to already be the end of the summer. Apparently all the most attractive people are born in August. and you're not a good father unless you have, or you're not a good parent unless you have a figure in your life born in August. I don't know. I feel like the internet has rotted my brain to such a degree. So with that, I'll say I'm looking forward to the gym tomorrow. I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. And thanks for, at least at this point in time, putting a video up is free, so we can still be thankful for that.